So bioregulatory medicine is, we think it is a comprehensive and holistic approach to health, which advocates natural healing methods to support and restore the body's intrinsic self-regulating and self-healing mechanisms. We're all about supporting the body. And our bodies naturally seek a state of balance or homeostasis and ease. Bioregulatory medicine is a multidisciplinary field of medicine that supports homeostasis in the patient's autoregulatory capacity. In Chinese medicine, we would say we're trying to balance the yin and the yang. That's what homeostasis is. At an energetic level, at a psycho-emotional level, but also at a physical level too, both physical and non-physical. So the goal is to maintain homeostasis. And when the relationship between catabolic and anabolic regulators is not optimal, we see that a regulation disorder develops. So our highest guiding principle is maintenance and furtherance of the human biosystem. So the goal of bioregulatory medicine is to support the forces of development and regulation of self-healing. The terms regenerate and self-heal are similar in defining biologically oriented therapy. Basically, all healing in essence is self-healing and involves the regenerative forces of the organism. Bioregulatory medicine is personalized, so we try to tailor it to the individual as much as possible. So there's no cookie cutter therapies that fit everyone. We try to identify individual patterns of disharmony, the person's unique biochemistry, their unique genomic genetic makeup, their unique psycho-emotional makeup, those social and environmental conditions, and put that all together and create a tailored plan to address all of that in a personalized way. We're talking about interconnectivity. Bioregulatory medicine embraces an interconnected picture of the physical and non-physical components of the human body with its environment. Interconnectivity is supported largely by recent advances in systems biology, genomics, mind-body research, and integral biophysics or quantum physics, which we'll be talking about some tomorrow. In 1928, there was a physician named Bernard Aschner, and he published one of the earliest books on German bioregulatory medicine. It was called Crisis in Medicine. In his book, the Viennese physician advocated numerous natural therapies that aid excretion of toxins that he viewed as cofactors in the development of chronic illness. So one of the things that you'll hear a lot about in bioregulatory medicine is toxicity and trying to eliminate toxins. From this, we have developed the idea of Homa Toxicology and ways in which to eliminate toxins from the body and the stages in which toxins become deposited in the body. In 1941, Joseph Scher, also a physician, defined bioregulatory medicine as those natural methods that support the attempts of the body to heal itself. A very simple definition. And so that encompasses a lot of territory. In other words, we could say that traditional medicines, traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, anthroposophical medicine, homeopathic medicine, many of these traditional systems are bioregulatory because they attempt to heal the body in a natural way without interfering with regulatory mechanisms. Okay, we run into some terminology trouble here, though. We call it bioregulatory medicine. This is what it's been termed in Europe. And then it was kind of shortened to biological medicine. And about 20, 30 years ago, the pharmaceutical industry commandeered this word biological medicine. And so it's a little confusing in this sense that we have the pharmaceutical industry saying we have biologicals here. Biologicals could be anything from vaccines basically things extracted from biological sources. It would be considered a biological medicine. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about supporting the body's ability to heal by not interfering with it. And some of these biological materials that are sold as biological medicines do not do that. They have side effects and they can cause severe damage to the body. So this is really more properly called a biopharmaceutical instead of a biological. I think this is a good word that we should use in passing that around. And also, that's why we put regulatory back into it. Many of us call ourselves, well, I do biological medicine. But as I say, that's confusing now because biological medicine can mean also using biologicals that are derived from biological sources that are not in any way good for the body. So patients who receive biopharmaceutical therapy for diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis and psoriatic arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis, etc., are at an increased risk for life-threatening infection, adverse cardiovascular events, and malignancy. And this is part of, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, I'm just saying that that's not what we stand for. And we're all about bioregulatory medicine. We promote prevention and treatment of illness through non-toxic approaches. So we are for, not against. We don't use drugs that interfere in any way with enzyme systems. Here we're also talking about the symptoms and the causes. And it's very important that we just don't treat symptoms, that we go underneath the iceberg and treat the causes of the illness. So often, people are just having their symptoms suppressed, and this causes further damage to their body. So symptoms are defense attempts of the organism against disruptions to its normal function, and are regulatory healing processes that should not be disrupted, but rather supported. And in 1939, Karl Stauffer explained, illness symptoms are an attempt to regulate against stimuli that have disrupted the equilibrium of the body in an unusual, severe manner. For the number of stimuli that exist, as many attempts are made by the body to regulate. The physicians have long observed that patients with similar symptoms have different illnesses with different causes. And similarly, the medical interventions may work well in some patients with a disease, but not in others with apparently the same illness. So we're looking at the causes, not just the symptoms. And there's a myriad of causes, as we know. These are just some of the common causes that we as bioregulatory practitioners often see. Chronic psycho-emotional stress. We can't talk about that enough. That many people have in their background trauma and chronic stress. It might have started in childhood. It probably did start in childhood. And it continued. And these have a great impact on the physical organism as well. So past shocks and trauma. Physical injury, structural impairments, biochemical imbalances, organ gland dysfunctions, imbalances in the microbiome. This is the ecology of the body. There's different areas of the body where this is quite important, like in the gastrointestinal system or in the mouth, which Dr. Curatola will be talking about later today. Terrain imbalances. This is the imbalances that happen within the pH of the body, but also the mesenchyme or the extracellular matrix where toxins are stored away. Genomic polymorphisms, nutritional deficiencies, toxicity from the environment, accumulation of metabolic waste. Some people just don't detoxify themselves well. Ionizing and non-ionizing radiation, foci interference fields, and geopathy. Foci, you maybe never heard of this, but it could be something like a root canal treated tooth, or basically dead tissue in the body that interferes with with the body's regulation in some way, or it may actually poison the body. That we know that toxic teeth can create proteins that systemically can infect the body and cause disease or damage to the other organisms, other organs of the body. In geopathy has to do with the earth, and certain areas of the earth, it's been thought, are good for people, and certain areas are not good for people. And it's an interesting phenomena, and I think it's worth exploring more about geopathy. So we're looking at multi-causative factors that are involved in the process of dis-ease, and a pattern unique for each individual. Biological regulatory medicine employs diagnostic aids that view not only structural and functional imbalances, but also informational, energetic, and psycho-emotional conditions present in the individual. We need to get our arms around all of it, right? And look at it in a whole way. And so often in conventional medicine, they only go from structural and maybe into the functional aspects, the nutritional aspects, but not really beyond that, not into the psycho-emotional. There's still a divorce in Western medicine and in most conventional medicine between the psycho-emotional and the physical. There's also a divorce in dentistry, yes, that neurologists don't talk to the dentist about what's going on in the head or that might be affecting the brain. So these are the planes. We think of them as planes: structural, functional, informational, energetic, and psycho-emotional. On our website, I talk a little bit more about this and get into examples of each. I'm going to jump into Homa Toxicology briefly. I know that many of you already know about Homa Toxicology and use it in your practice. Dr. Hans Heinrich Reckewig, and he lived from 1905 to 1985, referred to these bodily toxins as homotoxins. And the system of Homa Toxicology views symptoms of disease are the body's defense mechanisms that are working against these toxic substances. So symptoms are just an expression of these toxins. In 1955, Reckewig published his 6-phase table of homotoxicosis that represents the body's ability to regulate toxins. This 6-phase table is now called the Disease Evolution Table. Have you seen it? Yeah, some of you have. You could download this. I have the link. This is what it looks like now. It's been revised by Heal, the company Heal. So this is a design by the company Heal, one of the largest homeopathic companies out of Germany. No longer here in the United States, unfortunately. You can still get Heal products, though. And within this design, we have stages of disease. The stages are, first, the excretion, that the body attempts to excrete toxins, like we cough it out, or we defecate it out, or we urinate it out, or we sweat it out. We're trying to get rid of toxins through our eliminative organs. If this doesn't work, then what the body does is it reacts against the toxin and in some chemical way. Usually that initiates an inflammatory response. So we could think of as acute inflammation as a way to detoxify. But in conventional medicine, we often suppress inflammation with anti-inflammatories. You'll hear that word a lot, anti-inflammatories. And that can cause the toxins not to be eliminated. So what do the toxins do? They become deposited within the tissues of the body, primarily within the extracellular matrix, within the space between the cells. Because this is sort of a bank depository the body has, that it can store away toxins without really harming the body so much. But that starts to interfere with the cellular processes because these toxins accumulate there, and then they start to penetrate through the cell membranes and pregnate the cells. As they do that, they start to interfere with the the mechanisms of the cell, the oxidative mechanisms and the enzymatic mechanisms of the cells, and it causes the cells to degenerate, or it causes the cells to abnormally multiply into something like cancer or differentiate. You could read more about this from your link, and it'll explain the table of Homa Toxicology and homotoxicosis. There's an idea, though, that it's a vicariation effect. Because neural and humoral pathways connect all the cells of the body, the chemical transfer of homotoxins into one tissue necessarily affects the other tissues. Thus, a shift from one phase of homotoxicosis to another may be accompanied by a shift to a different tissue. Reckewig called this a dual shift of vicariation. So we have the vicariation effect simply means that toxins are being displaced. They're being moved around. If it's progressive, then it's worsening. The toxins are becoming into organs and into tissues that can really damage the body and cause a dysfunction within that organ system where it's not working. If it's regressive, then it means the person is healing. So this is what we're attempting to do with Homa Toxicology, is to detoxify the body depending on how serious it is, and we use different methods of detoxification depending on where the toxins are, how further it's progressed, in order to regress it into recovery. There is Constance Herring, the father of American homeopathy, gave us a rule. We call Herring's rule. According to his rule, the healing process starts from vital organs of parts of the body to lesser important ones. So this is, again, a regressive vicariation effect, that if we're moving toxins away from important things and back into areas that are less important, or from the inside towards the outside. This is why sauna can be so helpful for detoxification, because we're moving toxins to the outside to eliminate them. From top to bottom and in reverse chronological order. What he means by that is if a person developed a symptom A, then symptom B, then symptom C, then often what will happen is as they heal, they'll develop symptom C, then symptom B, then symptom A again. So it'll reverse in its order of symptomology. The causal chain of illness. When an organ or organ system becomes chronically dysfunctional, it leads to regulatory compensations and pathological chain reaction is triggered. If it's not resolved, eventually one by one other organs begin to malfunction. Chronically ill patients are afflicted usually with multiple dysfunctions. This is why it is so important to take a history of the patient. We must really understand what happened first, what happened second. And sometimes we have to go way back, of course, to childhood to really what transpired there and all the way through. So in the case presentation that we'll be seeing today, I tried to take I'm going to try to present it as a history of that person and what first happened, what second happened, what third happened. And I think this is a very important, and it's a lost art, is history taking, that physicians just, are not involved in that so much anymore. But you could learn so much by just asking questions. We don't need a lot of equipment if we just ask the right questions. We could certainly get to the bottom of things, because people know. People often come to me and they know what's wrong with them, and many of them know what has happened to them or remember it. It's just a matter of putting it all together in a coherent way. Next, I want to kind of jump into this idea of we're going global with this and within our institute. And we want to, in the future, bring in practitioners from other parts of the world to share with us their experiences and their techniques of healing. The first thing, though, is that there are other organizations out there that are similar to our own. And we would very much like to network with these organizations, join hands, and try to help each other and empower each other. The first one is the International Society for Bioregulatory Medicine. And it's an international board-certified specialist body pioneering the causes of symptoms medicine. It was established by the Foundation of Regulatory Medicine in 1994 in London. The society organizes specialist courses and formalizes training standards and competency for its affiliate societies worldwide. So it has societies throughout the world, primarily in Europe, but there also is a couple of them in Asia as well, in the Philippines. And they put on some very good conferences. So if you ever have a chance to go to one of these, I encourage you to do so. There's also the Australian Society of Bioregulatory Medicine. It's a scientific society aimed at promoting and sharing education in areas of Homa Toxicology, homeopathy, and naturopathy. If you're down under, you could visit them. The Occidental Institute Research Foundation in Canada, and they're an international, also non-profit society for practitioners of biological medicine. It was established in 1972. So it's been a very long-running society. They give tours for many, many years to Baden-Baden, to Medicine Week in Baden-Baden, and this is a very good society also, but it's just primarily in Canada. We're hoping to establish a cooperation with this organization in the future, particularly in tours to Baden-Baden. And there's the Canadian Society for Bioregulatory Medicine. It's an independent and inclusive medical society that promotes Homa Toxicology, homeopathy, and biological regulatory medicine. They're also in Canada. And then the International Academy of World Medicine and Toxicology, who has a vendor booth here. So please do visit their booth and discuss their conditions with them. They have a lot to offer, and they have some wonderful conferences too that you could learn a great deal about. We really marriage with dentistry and with biological dentistry as much as possible, and that's why every time we'll have a conference, we'll always have a dentist talking about the dentistry, biological dentistry. There are numerous traditional medicines that we consider bioregulatory. And I'd say that one of the first bioregulatory medicines is Chinese medicine. And traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, is one of the oldest continuous practice medicine in the world. It can be traced back to more than 3,000 years. It's the original model of bioregulatory medicine. It's now the second largest medical system in the world, and is currently used by more than 1/3 of the world's population. Of course, when we think of traditional Chinese medicine, we think of herbs, we think of acupuncture, but it's a very complicated system of medicine, and that involves the psycho-emotional, the energetic, as well as the physical body. And so it's a perfect model to go by. The TCM industry is now valued at about 121 million, almost 3 times larger than 20 years ago, and 1/3 of the total medicine industry in China. It's growing. It's growing worldwide, traditional Chinese medicine is. Chinese researchers publish over 3,000 scientific papers each year, which deepen research into different herbs, substances, acupuncture, and the working mechanics of traditional Chinese medicine. There's a lot of philosophy within it and ideas of how to look at the body and examine the body. We have the 5-element idea, which I encourage you to learn. And there are some very good books on traditional Chinese medicine at our book stand, and worth thumbing through, and particularly some good books on acupuncture and the meridian systems of the body, which I think are very important to know. There's also what we think of as a clock, a biological clock. So Chinese were 2,000 years ago, we're talking about circadian rhythms. We're talking about the body's energy and how it functions at certain times of the day more than at other times of the day. So one very good resource for traditional Chinese medicine is Red Wing Books. Do you know of this company, Red Wing Books? They have numerous books on Asian medicine, and you could go online and get their catalog. It's a very thick catalog. There's also supplies if you need herbs and things like that. I know there's millions of people out there that use Chinese medicine, but where do they get their herbs from? Not all of the herbs are of good quality, and so you have to be very careful about this, and you want to make sure that the quality of the herbs are good. Generally, Mayway Trading Company has a very good quality herbs, and you could contact them. Also for supplies like acupuncture supplies and different kinds of equipment, you could contact Lhasa OMS, Oriental Medical Supply, and even Golden Needle. These are good resources for supplies. We also have Kampo medicine, or Japanese bioregulatory medicine. And it's based on traditional Chinese medicine, but they made it in their own way. They took it and used their own herbs, and Japanese style of acupuncture and their style of herbal medicine is a little different than what you would see in mainland China. All very good. But recently, the Sasaemira Cancer Immunological Clinics have come to be. And they blend traditional Japanese medicine with what we would think of as immunotherapy, like GC-MAF, macrophage activating factor, as well as different types of infusions, vitamin C infusions, types of mushrooms like maitake, and sonodynamic therapy, and other kinds of low-intensity electrical field therapies. So they have about, I think, 5 clinics there in Japan and are doing some wonderful research in this area of immunology. And it's in a way that doesn't interfere with the body's regulatory mechanism. In fact, it empowers it. Next, we jump over to Ayurvedic medicine. And Ayurvedic medicine, of course, is also very, very old, like Chinese medicine, and has its own unique diagnostics and therapeutics and philosophy and methods of practice. It includes a system of herbalism similar to TCM and offers unique dietary regulation, yoga and other exercises, body work, detoxification, and psychological interventions. Particularly detoxification. One of the ideas, though, in both traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine is that there is an energy body. It's a very ancient idea, and one that's we'll all be talking about more tomorrow. And a life force, they just called it prana, whereas in Chinese they just call it qi, the life body. And there's also a type of therapy called Panchakarma. I got to experience this a few years back, and it was a wonderful experience. Took about a week of many different kinds of therapies to detoxify the body. These are some of the types of Pancha means 5 and Karma means treatment. The 5 treatments is from a traditional standpoint, but there's many kinds of treatments in Panchakarma now. There's diet, there's herbal teas, and they're all designed in a unique individual way according to your dosha. Enemas are what they call bastis. Massage with medicated oils, so the oils are herbally infused, and then they're massaged to the body. Oil pours over the body, which I'll show you pictures of. Warm oil therapy and steam therapy. All of these are designed to eliminate the toxins from the body. And here's a woman getting massaged by 2 practitioners, and this is the common way that they do it, is that they'll have two practitioners at once, and they'll do exactly the same thing at the same time. It's a wonderful experience. This is Shirodara, where it's an oil drip on the head, on the third eye, back and forth, and it really does put you into an altered state. It's wonderful for mental illness and as well as just stress. But it's a great therapy to experience. There are designs. This is a design, a home design of a Shirodara machine. You could go to Crystal Mind if you wanted to explore that. But it's a very nice little unit. It works off of either water or oil, and it has a pump in it that pumps the water back up and drips it onto the forehead. So it's continuous. You just lie there. Very lovely. So these are oil pores onto the certain areas of the body where they use oil to break up the ama, which is the toxins within the tissues. You also have different types of oil pores into the nose to clean the nasal cavities. As you know, sinuses become chronically infected and toxic, and so traditionally they would use various oil pores into the nose to clean the nose out. In India, it's mainly this area. This area is full. Kerala is full of Panchakarma clinics and Ayurvedic clinics. It's a beautiful area of India, and if you ever get a chance to go there, you'll definitely want to visit one of these clinics and get therapy for yourself. There's also, in your notes, you'll have, these are some of the Ayurvedic medicine companies that I would recommend to purchase Ayurvedic medicines and some other supplies. Next, we jump over to the European biological regulatory medicine. And largely, it started in many ways in the Germanic countries of Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. But it spread into France, into Spain, into Russia, certainly, definitely into Russia, and also into England and elsewhere. So in Baden-Baden, Germany, for the last 52 years, they've had the Congress for European Biological Medicine, Bioregulatory Medicine. And that happens in late October, early November. I'll be going to it next week. And to collect information mainly and to video it. This is what we intend to do, is to video and interview people and to kind of journal this and then to bring it back and put it on the website and share it with you all. And hopefully create tours in the future to Baden-Baden. Unfortunately, much of the lectures are in German, but we're going to try to find a way around that with audio translation and so that people that go, the English-speaking people, can understand it. In European bioregulatory therapies are many. We have different types of physiotherapy, lymph drainage, massage, foot reflexology, cupping, super-enriched oxygen baths, saunas, sun baths, infrared and ultraviolet light baths, many types of cleansing therapy. Also energetic treatments, magnetic field, acupuncture, bioresonance, neural therapy, autogenic training, nutritional regimes, homeopathy, and dietary supplementation, and numerous infusions and shots and more shots. Of course, the shots are, different types of homeopathic remedies usually, or nutritional approaches. So we have IV detoxification, chelation and Homa Toxicology. Ozone therapy has been popular in Europe for decades, and other types of oxidative therapy, magnetic and bioresonance therapies. A lot of this got its start way back in the 1950s with bioresonance therapy. Hyperthermia, local and whole body, in Germany and many of the clinics there, as well as in Switzerland, elsewhere. Even in China now, they offer whole body hyperthermia where they'll heat the body up to like 105, 106 degrees, and that greatly stimulates the immunity. But they do this for an hour and then they bring the person out of it. A very strong, powerful therapy. Many kinds of immunotherapies too. Thymus peptides have long been used. Mushrooms, the group complement macrophage activating factor, as well as mistletoe therapy. So what I think of is we're really the medicine of the future here, and so all of you are ambassadors to this, and that what we hope to bring is more of preventive health care and less sick care. And this, of course, we would rather a person come into our office that is well and informed than somebody that, you know, drags in a stack of papers this thick and has been to every doctor. But, you know, this, we can change it. We can change even that. Participatory, we want to engage our patient, and we want to be as much interactive with them as possible and listen to them, truly listen to them, and take a deep, detailed history. They appreciate that. I really think that part of the healing process is just listening to the person tell their story. That's when the healing really starts to begin. Technological advancements, light and sound and magnetic therapy, as you probably have many of these devices in your office or have experienced them, but this is just an explosion of this now with different types of light therapy and magnetic therapy, as well as sound therapy too. Nutritional supplementation, of course, will be always of central focus, as well as diet. It's one of the places where we always begin. You know, what are you eating? And well, how do you feel about that? And can you change that? Resonance-based medicine. Kim Chi will be talking a lot about this next, and about resonance-based medicine. And genomics, looking at the genomic makeup of the individual and tailoring therapies towards that. Some people have poor detoxification, methylation problems, and other types of problems that we can remedy by knowing what their genomic profile is. The noblest foundation for medicine is love. It is love which teaches the art of healing. Without true love, healing cannot be born. This is Paracelsus. And so I'm going to leave you with that thought. And one last thing, I'd like to have our next presenter come, and we're going to try to hold our questions as much as we can and write them down for the end, because we have actually a question and answer period at the end of the day that we can give you all the answers that you require. And that way we could kind of move through this a little more quickly and we won't get stuck and behind time. So I'd appreciate if you could write your questions down if something comes to mind, and then at the end of the day, today as well as tomorrow, we'll help to answer those questions. We're also going to have a case study here later, and that'll be interactive as well. So you'll be able to, you know, we hope that we get input from you to help with our cases. Well, thank you very much.